Welcome back to JR Takes. As always, Ryan Rogers and Jonah Hoffman coming at you live.
Yes, sir.
And we just got through, unfortunately, knocked out of the playoffs last weekend by the Houston Astros. Kind of foresaw that coming with going down 2-0. Should have taken that first game. That one really stung. But what can you do in that situation? I mean, I would by no means call the season a disappointment. If anything,
we won a playoff series still.
It was a huge success. I was bummed for a very short period of time after we lost that game. And then I was like, wow, we got a really bright future ahead of us. That being said...
Yeah, there's so many rookies that were making significant contributions on this team.
I have high hopes for the future. However, being that I am not a former professional athlete, I have to do a lot of my experience / research on YouTube. And I was watching I think I was watching the highlights of the game. And I like to read a lot of comments on, what just the general fans, what their consensus is on the team, opinions, etc. And someone made a comment of, if we don't make the postseason for the next 20 years, like our situation going into this year's postseason, we will always question making that pitching change with Robbie Ray in game one. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. We're going to make the playoffs next year, so that doesn't matter. But then it got me thinking, we got Ichiro in his rookie year in 2001. We didn't make the playoffs again after that.
There's just no way that's going to happen.
This was Julio's rookie year. I know. It just got me thinking. It got me paranoid. And the 21-year drought made its way back to my head.
If that happens again, then we are truly just fucking cursed.
If that happens again, then just get rid of the team. Because
trade them for the Sonics.
Sure. Or just don't have baseball here, or I don't care. Anyway, I don't think that's going to happen, but it did make me slightly
scared.
It gave me anxiety for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's just something about Seattle sports and losing in the most heartbreaking way conceivable. Mm-hmm. And that Astros game, I mean, God, like since the Super Bowl with the Seahawks in 2014, has there been more of a crushing, so close to victory loss? I don't think so.
No. I mean, to a team like that.
Yeah, to the fucking Astros, too. I mean, like, the most hated team in baseball, in my opinion, at least from my point of view.
No.
And what's frustrating is I think the Astros are probably going to end up in the World Series, if not win the whole thing. And we could have won all three of those games. We were winning or tied into extra innings in all three of those games for a significant portion, and that they either came back or we just couldn't close. It was like every time we had a chance to seal the deal, it's almost like I doubt this was the case, but it felt like the team was like, oh my God, we're about to be the Astros, we're gonna do it, and then they blew it.
I think there's a lot of parallels between the Mariners losing to the Astros and us losing to the Falcons in 2012. I wouldn't compare it to losing to the Patriots in the Super Bowl because, like KJ Wright mentioned on the podcast that I listened with him the other day, and he was asked what was the differences between the two losses of Falcons Patriots? Like how could you compare the two? And he said night and day. The Falcons loss helped the team because it made everyone hungrier. Whereas after the Super Bowl, it had everyone questioning philosophies.
Yeah, it was a crippling loss.
You couldn't get much lower than that loss.
Yeah.
And I kind of just think the Mariners are following suit in that regard as far as this loss to Houston we were so close to getting over that hump and being legit, and we just couldn't do it.
It's like if we had one just better hitter in the lineup, we would have swept them. Mm-hmm. Honestly, that was the difference. Is like we just needed a little more offense. We had guys on base, we had guys in scoring position to seal it in all three games.
And I think all those needs will be addressed in the offseason. Mm-hmm. I think my kind of a hot take prediction, I think JP will move to second, and he'll either move to second and will sign Trey Turner from the Dodgers, or he'll stay at short and Trey Turner will go to second.
Do you think they are going to make a move and move on from Jesse Winker, or do you think they give him another chance?
I was just going to bring that up because I don't know if you've been hearing a lot of the rumors going around about Jesse Winker quitting on the team and all that stuff, which was a real bummer because he won me over.
With the brawl?
Yeah.
That's how he won me over.
He won me over. I was his guy. He was my guy. Like, I was all on board with Jesse. And then I went to that doubleheader at the end of the year against Detroit, and apparently he didn't even show up for he either didn't show up for the games in general or he wouldn't play. That was because that's odd. I heard Ryan Divish, he reports on the Mariners to the Seattle Times, and that's where I heard that information from, that he just didn't post up for the game and he wasn't there, and he didn't go with the team to Toronto or Houston in the playoff run, which was really sad because
I don't get that.
He was supposed to be such a important piece to this team. He
seemed like such a team guy during the brawl era too. The interviews I saw with him and everything, like he was. And also, passionate. How could
you not seem like a team guy, literally fighting people for your teammates?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It just seems like it just goes to show you, like with the Russell thing, for example, behind closed doors, you have no idea what's going on. So, and we'll get to Russell here in a second.
Yeah,
but
I figure we'll end the podcast with that discussion because I don't want this to just be the Russell Wilson story podcast, but we got to talk about it. It's
it directly affects the teams we're covering. So,
and it's the most unprecedented thing I've seen in 17 years of watching football.
Yeah, but it's absolutely crazy. But to answer your question about Jesse Winker, I really thought going into the season, like I said, I thought he was going to be really important for us. I thought this is a guy we bring in, we'll extend him, have him here for the long haul. But now I'm like, my feelings towards him before I heard all this. I heard a little bits and pieces of this type of narrative yesterday morning, and I was like, I don't buy it. I still think he's going to be around the team, but man, I didn't know it had gotten this bad, and that he didn't even
travel
with the team. Yeah, they told him to. From my understanding, they told him to go home straight up, and
that doesn't sound good for his prospects on the Mariners.
And yeah, how often does a guy literally get told to go home? You're gone. Like, if anything, that seems like the last straw.
Well, I just think of, the closest comparison I can think of off the top of my head is what just happened to Robbie Anderson on Sunday.
Yeah.
They kicked him out of the game after he threw a temper tantrum on the sideline or something like that. The Panthers did, and then he's traded to Arizona like a day later.
Yeah.
So normally when you see stuff like that, it means their time on the team is limited.
See, I think the only thing I think is different in this situation is that was national news. Everyone saw that on the television. No one knew about this. No one knew this was happening. So I think you can find it is salvageable to maybe have that talk with Jesse Winker, bring him in. It's either have that tough conversation with him or cut him loose, trade him.
Yeah.
Designate for assignment, what have you. But no, I don't foresee him returning to the team next year. I want him to. I think he's deserved a second chance. All the time you see people in baseball getting traded or going to a new team, struggling their first year, and then they figure it out. Mm-hmm. So, we'll see. I don't know. I would be happy to see him on the team. I don't think he's going to be. That's my 2 cents on the matter.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I just consider the season was a success because we broke the streak. So knowing how young and talented our team is, I think the future is very bright.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
For the Seattle Mariners. So I think we'll be back, and I think we got a real shot at winning it all next year if they just make some key additions.
Not only do I think we'll be back, I think we're going to make the most noise in the offseason. I think we're going to bring in a lot of
spending spree.
I think we're going to break out the old paycheck.
Nice.
Or the old checkbook.
The old piggy bank, eh?
Yeah, we're going to bust open. We're going to have to break open that pink piggy jar, take out a couple coins, and distribute them amongst the good players in the league.
Well, it'll be fun to speculate who they might go after in the offseason going through this.
The only person I hope we don't sign is Carlos Correa. I'll be really mad if we do that because he's a former Astro douchebag. But he would be perfect for our team, which is annoying.
Well, anyways, shifting gears to football, the Seahawks defense decided they remembered how to play football this last weekend.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, and what's funny is they couldn't have picked a better game to do it because the offense really was kind of stuck in reverse a lot of this game. The offensive line kind of got the shit kicked out of them for a lot of this game. And I know the Arizona Cardinals have a good defensive front. J.J. Watt, when his youth returns to him, is still one of the most dangerous defensive linemen in the league. Isaiah Simmons had a couple good blitzes, their outside linebacker. And Cross and Lucas looked like rookies. Not Gabe Jackson. Damian Lewis had a horrifically bad game. For some reason, Pro Football Focus thought he did good. I swear to God, I don't understand how they do their grading sometimes because I saw Damian Lewis get destroyed several times. I
feel like the person running Pro Football Focus is a dumbass. Legitimately. So I shit you not. I feel like they just want to be hot take 24/7.
Yeah, I really don't get how they do it.
Come up with makes any sense. And
sometimes
how
it
they grade
does.
People.
Sometimes it's oh yeah, the player who is clearly eye test and statistically been playing the best is the number one PFF guy at that position. And then sometimes you see a Jacoby Brissett is top
or
4.
Daniel Jones or something.
Yeah, and you're just what numbers are you putting into this equation to get this? Because I think you misplaced a decimal place or something. But anywho, Tariq Woolen is the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, and he got another interception. He got a fumble recovery. I mean, every single podcast now we end up talking about this guy. He's looking like the best draft pick we've had in a decade.
We'll have to get him on here one of these in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll find a way to get him on here.
Yeah, I'll just
before he blows up and gets too big for our podcast, which he probably already was born.
He's definitely not yet. We could easily get him on here. We're choosing not to because Ryan and I have this chemistry going. We don't want a third guy to mess it up.
Anyways, he looked great. Kobe Bryant had his best game in coverage by far. Made a couple of pass breakups.
You know what's awesome about him is we got Tariq intercepting balls over on the left side, right side, whatever side he's on. On the other side, we got Kobe Bryant knocking balls out.
Yeah.
So
he's kind of like Peanut Tillman Jr. out there punching that ball out. And in other news, we've placed. Well, I mean, granted, this is just a rumor, but a bunch of different outlets have reported on it. Sidney Jones is apparently on the trade block, and I think that's because Trey Brown is going to be coming back from that knee injury he got last year. And last year, before he got hurt, he looked like the best defensive player on our team, in my opinion.
I know. I was wondering where he was. I didn't know. What was it? The same tendon that Jimmy Graham tore?
Yeah, and that's a really tough injury to come back from.
Yeah, so that's where I assumed he was because starting the year, I was wondering where he was going to fit in our defensive schemes and depth chart and all that. You think Kobe Bryant will still stay in the nickel corner and Trey Brown will take over number one?
I think that's how they're planning on having this work out. Although Mike Jackson has been playing good at the left cornerback position.
Yeah.
But that's where Trey Brown was playing last year, was on the left side. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll be from left to right, Trey Brown, and then Kobe in the nickel, and then Tariq Woolen just on the right side. Mm-hmm. Because I think right cornerback in the Seattle defensive scheme, I know it's a little different this year, but it's always kind of been a little bit less pressure than the left spot. And Tariq is just doing so damn good at it. He's literally playing like a top 5 cornerback in the league right now as a 5th round rookie that was playing receiver a few years ago. It's crazy. But I think Trey Brown, he just projects better on that side because of his coverage abilities. Because Tariq,
he's smaller, but he's quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's faster than Tariq though, because Tariq runs a 4.2.
No, I don't think there's few people that are playing any sport that are faster than Tariq Woolen in a straight line. But I think Trey Brown is a little shiftier than him, perhaps.
That makes more sense because he's closer to the ground.
He's like 5'10", 5'11". Yeah. I mean, if you go back to when Sherman was, in his prime, he didn't struggle with the Calvin Johnsons and like the Mike Evans of the world. He struggled with like the Julian Edelman, little quick guys.
Yeah.
And, from my playing experience, those guys are always way harder for me to cover than someone that was around my size, just because they're slighter, they can move quicker laterally. But anywho, the secondary suddenly looks like a huge position of strength for the Seahawks, especially when you consider next year we're going to have Jamal Adams back.
Which is, sorry to interrupt you, but it's so funny because that was like, when last year ended, I was like, our corner situation is atrocious.
Yeah. Well, when you draft two of them and have them both hit, and you pick up this guy off the street named Michael Jackson, and for some reason he's playing like a solid starter in the NFL, and you have your 2021 rookie coming off of IR, being one of the better players from last year, it suddenly looks really good. And they even have some guys lower than that on the depth chart, like Artie Burns, who was starting for the Bears last year.
Artie Burns sounds like he's a 1940s. Like,
yeah, he seems reporter. Like he should be in the mob or reporting on the mob or something like that. I agree with you. But just going back to the game again, it was awesome to see that. It was also awesome to see the emergence of Kenneth Walker. I don't know if you've got a chance to watch the whole game.
I watched the whole game.
If he was a lesser player, would have gotten like 20 yards rushing in that game. The blocking was not good. I saw a stat. He's forced a missed tackle on half of his carries.
There was a play, I can't remember where we were in the game. I think it was early on. It was a big run he had going from north end to south end. He did like a cutback and ran up the sideline. You know what play I'm talking about?
Is it the one where it looked like five guys were about to tackle him?
And then he had vision, and then he shifted to the right.
And somehow evaded all of them, and then broke a tackle and kept going?
Yeah.
That was one of the... I know Rashad Penny's kind of like just a screaming bullet. Like if he gets a little tiny window, he's going to take it to the house kind of running back. Kenneth Walker has just insane lateral movement and vision and power. He's a different type of back than Penny for sure. It's such a bummer we don't have both of them, but I think he's going to be able to carry the load just fine, assuming he stays healthy.
Yeah, that's kind of a big if. I hope we don't overwork him. I fear that's what the Steelers are doing to Najee Harris in Pittsburgh, and I hope we don't do that to our back. I imagine we're going to re-sign Rashad Penny.
I hope we do
in the offseason. But
I know, so he tore a ligament inside his ankle, and I know that particular ligament can take about a year to heal. But even with that, I'd be down to give him a 1 or 2 year deal, because when he's healthy, he's legitimately the most explosive back in the league. And we could probably get him for like not much more than the vet minimum, like $2 or $3 million, which, I mean, that's not chump change for us, but for the NFL it is. And just, I like Rashad Penny. I want him to give another chance. When he's healthy, he's always been awesome. And when you have two good running backs like that, it just makes your offense that much more potent.
It's crazy to me too that how frequently he's been injured, because it seems like he hasn't really had a lot of he hasn't put a lot of time on his legs since being in the NFL.
Yeah, he's been on the bench a bunch.
He gets just in these freak injury accidents, and he's out for the year.
Well, and it's just so unlucky, too, because most of the injuries he's gotten have been, like, as you said, freak incidents where, like, you saw his ankle get twisted. That's not from not being in shape. That's from terrible timing of people tackling you.
Who was that one running back we had a few years ago that was made of glass that was really good?
Oh, CJ Procise?
CJ Procise, yeah.
Yeah, he was legit made of glass. It was like he gets tackled and breaks every bone in his body. Sorry, CJ. You had an awesome game against the Patriots. But yeah, overall the game was it was kind of an odd one. It felt like we should have been blowing them out the whole time because of how our defense was playing, but we couldn't quite get on the scoreboard besides field goals, besides that Kenneth Walker run. Geno missed a couple deep balls that he's been hitting most of the year. I'm not too worried about that. Nobody can play as good as he's been playing every game. And he even admitted it in the press conference. I don't think he had a bad game by any means. He was under immense pressure the whole game. Line needs to do better this week against the Chargers. But yeah, overall, I was really just biggest takeaway from the Cardinals game was how good our defense played and how bad the Cardinals offense is as well. Just as far as actually well scripted plays and not just Kyler Murray being a really good athlete. They look pretty useless.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that Cliff Kingsbury's been able to hold on to his job.
Me too.
For as long as he was. And I could be wrong. I think it was Pro Football Focus. I could be wrong on this. But before the season started, you know who was ranked the 4th best overall head coach in the league?
Don't tell me it was Cliff.
It was Cliff.
Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
He's been a horrible coach every year he's done it. He's been a main reason why they haven't won.
I'm just telling you what I saw.
Yeah. So yeah, next game we got coming up is against the Chargers, who after the Monday night game, I actually like our chances in this game.
I think Denver did us a favor in playing them before us. They prepped them up to be used to playing a shitty offensive team.
Yeah. And not only that, but the Chargers are coming off a short week. They have one less day to prepare and recover from the previous game. They didn't look in sync at all on offense.
They haven't looked good all season.
No. I think if our defense can play, and granted they run a different scheme with a different quarterback Justin Herbert's like 6'6". He's not like Kyler Murray at all. But if we can just play good, sound defense against them, and Geno can play like how he did against the Saints, and the refs don't totally fuck up, I really like our chances to win this game. I'm just going to go ahead and predict that we win 23-14 is my prediction.
Okay.
What do you think about this matchup?
I think Justin Herbert is extremely overrated. I think he's super talented, but he doesn't win games, which is the best stat to, decide whether or not a quarterback is a legitimate, top 10, top 5, whatever. Yeah. And
he just has
the dude hasn't even made the playoffs. So I don't want to hear all this Justin Herbert is a top 5, top 3, whatever. He doesn't win. He's put up really good stats, and his arm is fucked up. It's so
trust
good.
Me, I know.
But you know who else's arm was fucked up? Jay
Cutler's.
And he sucked.
Yeah.
Now he's living in Montana on a ranch.
Smoking cigarettes. Probably has a bee farm that he doesn't do a good job with because he's lazy.
Anyway, yes, I think we'll beat the Chargers. Now I just jinxed us, and Justin Herbert is gonna kick our ass and come back on a fourth quarter game winning drive and beat us.
Yeah, and he's gonna call us out in his post game interview.
Yeah, he's gonna go up to the camera and fucking curse JR Takes.
But speaking of the Chargers and the game they just played, man, we're getting into really dark territory with the Russell Wilson Broncos trade. He started off 10 for 10, looking like good old Russ. And I want the Broncos to lose every game. Don't get me wrong. I want us to get the number 1 pick. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But just because I have a vested interest in that. But as a just human being that cares for other human beings, I've never seen Russell Wilson look as shaken as he looks.
Probably
emotionally.
He's probably never been in this situation in his life because everything has worked out for him up until this point.
And everyone in the media is shitting on him. Everybody, and all these people on Twitter are just kind of attacking his character. And people are taking every little opportunity they can to just rain down on him more right now. It makes me think that a lot of people have not really liked him for a long time. And in the media or whatever. And it's kind of shocking because Russell Wilson is not someone who's ever had off the field issues. He's not someone that's ever, like gotten arrested or really done anything bad. And part of me wonders if that's part of why he's getting so much hate is because he's such a robotic, always do and act like Mr. Goody. I don't know. What is your take on it?
So, I have two things I want to say. One of them I just remembered, and that is, I thought this was really weird when this came to my mind randomly the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot he said that. That's weird. Now that in hindsight, like that he said this, but remember, like maybe more than 5 years ago, Russell Wilson claimed that he used to be a bully.
Yeah.
In elementary or junior high. I bet you he was lying about that.
I kind of always thought he was lying about that.
Like, that just so seems not his character. Like,
yeah, I mean,
it seems like he was just saying that to relate to the situation or something, and to be like this, like, hey, bullies, you can change. Look what I did. I'm Russell Wilson. I used to be a bully, and now I'm the quarterback for the Seahawks. Like,
I agree with you.
Like, I feel like that was the angle he was going at. Like, I can inspire all these kids. I'm gonna do it.
He is a weird goofball guy, but that's the thing with him is like, there's nothing malicious about Russell Wilson. He's not a bad dude.
No,
he's just a fucking goofball and is super corny and was born with the personality of a 52-year-old father of 5. Like, this is just who he is. Which
is crazy to me that Sierra's into that, but I guess, I mean, to each their own.
Yeah, I mean, still like props to him for pulling that off, because it's like, even if you're a multimillionaire quarterback, like
you can still be Andrew Luck.
Yeah. So. Good point. But the personal side aside, the dude completed 3 of 11 fucking passes in the second half. He's legitimately been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, shades of Mitchell Trubisky statistically. Well, and I feel like people like Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre and Tom Brady and Drew Brees, and to an extent Ben Roethlisberger, but he was awful his last 2 seasons, so I don't really consider that too much. But even we can keep going this, throw in guys like Carson Palmer, throw in guys like Troy Aikman, Joe Montana, Tony Romo. You know what all of them have in common? Cam Newton as well. At age 34, they were done. They sucked. They might have been done at age 34, or they played one more season and were terrible. But there is a really, really strong correlation to turning 33 to 34 at the quarterback position and never playing a good season again. And go ahead and look up all those names I just listed and look what age their last season was. Cam Newton never played a good season again after he was 29. This narrative that guys like Rodgers and Brady have brought about that you can play into your 40s, it's really more of the exception than it is the rule when it comes to quarterbacks. Like, the wear and tear and the hits and just the demand to be so good at something into your mid and late 30s is extremely difficult, and there's not many play styles beyond the prototypical pocket passer that can pull it off. Guys like Peyton Manning, where the later half of his career, when he put up the best numbers he ever did, he could probably only throw the football like 45, 50 yards, and it was a wobbly noodle. Mm-hmm. But he just was so good up here that he could make it work. And, Russell Wilson claims to be this super hard worker, but a lot of these mistakes he's making, like, yeah, maybe his arm's a little worse. Yeah, maybe he's a little slower. He's just fucking missing guys. I mean, there's plays where like the guy's wide open over the middle, and there's even a gap in the line for him to see, and he's just not looking. It's almost like, what's holding him back right now is all mental. And I know part of that is he's injured and whatnot, but the fact of the matter is there's a lot more example out there of quarterbacks beyond the age of 33 never being good again than there is the opposite of that. And I can't believe the Broncos didn't do any of that research before they made this trade.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny you say how hard of a worker Russell is. I mean, yeah, of course he is. Obviously, I mean, when he was with Seattle in his rookie year, I remember hearing like, oh, Russell was always the first to get there and last to leave. And I was always like, oh, that's a great thing to hear. And then like the more you follow Russell Wilson as a Seahawks fan, the more you see him posting about himself practicing and working out, and like Russell always wants to show you and tell you that how hard he's working.
Yeah.
And that right there is just like just screams phony to me.
And how do you have time to work hard if you're running all these side gigs that he's doing?
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
I think he lost the plot in like 2018, 2019 maybe. And he played some of his best football in those years, but I don't think he's busting his ass in the film room like he used to.
Well, and pretty interesting, actually. I heard this soundbite today, actually, with Michael Robinson.
I saw that too.
About how he talked about potential mutiny in the locker room.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I didn't think I would be hearing at all, let alone this early in the season.
Right. But here's the thing. Not to defend Russell Wilson. He's played bad. But number one, the narrative that Denver has this amazing offensive supporting cast, beyond Javonte Williams, I think they fucking suck. Cortland Sutton is a good receiver. He's a very good receiver. I think Jerry Jeudy is a fucking diva, and I think he's a very good athlete, but not a very good receiver. He kind of reminds me of T.O., but with like a tenth of the talent. He doesn't run great.
He also gets injured quite a bit.
And he
can't stay healthy.
He doesn't run good routes at all.
Which is funny because that's what he was known for coming out of college.
Well, I've watched kind of a lot of film on him because I was doing some research on Drew Lock in the offseason to see what we were getting ourselves into. And the biggest takeaway I got from watching Drew Lock film was that Jerry Jeudy doesn't know how to fucking play football or doesn't put an effort half the time. And there was a few Wilson tried to throw like a fade route to Jerry Jeudy, and Jerry just didn't even see the ball. Like he could have caught a touchdown on that play, and he just was like, it looked like he was purposely not trying to. I don't know. It was weird. But Denver's offensive line is terrible. Like there was a few plays where Wilson hung onto the ball too long, but like he was getting hammered all game. The running game, there was no blocking. Like they look like an absolute mess on offense, quarterback aside. So their problems run deeper than just Russell Wilson.
Well, I got to tell you though, I'm like blaming the offensive line on an offensive line that protects Russell Wilson is getting hard to do.
Oh, no, I agree. I'm just saying their left tackle is out for the year, and I think they're missing another starting offensive lineman, and they've just objectively been bad.
Yeah.
They were okay against us, but even when we were playing the Broncos, there was a few blitzes that got through right away. The Jamal Adams blitz that he unfortunately got hurt on comes to mind. But the point of what I'm trying to say is I really don't see it getting better for Denver.
No, in fact, I think Nathaniel Hackett is going to be the sacrificial lamb.
I think he
anytime,
is. Well, they can't. They have a 7-year commitment to Russell Wilson financially, and they cannot cut him without having a catastrophic cap hit from it until 2025 at the earliest. And even then, it would be like, I think, a $30 million cap hit in dead money. So they have to make it work with him. Like players getting mad and throwing shade at Russell Wilson in the locker room or whatever, be damned. Like, sorry, you made your bed. Now you got to deal with it. So
yeah,
they are in a mess. And maybe they'll get it together.
Inherited a mess.
Shut up. And, to wrap all this up, it pains me to see Russell Wilson playing like this and to be behaving as meek and meager in his post-game interviews as he is. And he's not even ending his interviews with the Broncos Let's Ride thing anymore.
Well, he can't. How can you?
He
can't
shouldn't
play the way you're playing and still be everything's gonna be fine.
Right.
Like it's like that meme of the dog sitting in the house in the kitchen with the house on fire. It's like you can't just pretend to ignore that and everything's sunshine and rainbows. No, you're losing and someone needs to be held accountable.
I totally agree with you. All I'm saying is going all the way back to probably his like Pop Warner days, he's never been in this situation. Even last year when we were sucking, it didn't get this bad. It didn't even get close to this bad. And he didn't play close to this bad.
Well, because he would at least have spurts and stretches where he had an amazing game.
Yeah, or at least just an amazing throw or two a game. Yeah. Like, I don't think I've seen one vintage moonball from Wilson this whole season where it just, goes almost up to the Jumbotron. And
the only vintage moonballs we've seen have been from Geno.
Yeah. Well, here's one last thing I want to say about this before we move on. I think the receivers Wilson has been working with the last few years, DK and Tyler in particular, I think this shows how vastly underrated by the national media they have been, because they are a lot better than what he has in Denver. And I feel like the narrative was the opposite going into this season. Tyler Lockett is just incredible. Look, he's still producing with Geno, who, he's playing great right now. But when Wilson was on, he was playing at a Hall of Fame level for years. And we all just thought he was making these receivers what they are. No, I think even going back to the Baldwin Tate years, I think we've always had some pretty damn good receivers in Seattle. And just we didn't always throw the ball 40 times a game. So I think this is proving a lot of things, but most of which I think Pete Carroll knows what the fuck he's doing. There's been a lot of things Pete Carroll has done from 2017 to now that have irked to me, but I have to admit I was wrong about Pete. Dead wrong.
I was wrong too. However, give us some benefit of the doubt. We're watching a guy who's coached our team for 10 years now, who has made arguably one of the worst plays in NFL history in a passing play on the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was Bevel, not Pete.
Come on.
What?
You think that was you're gonna blame
Pete doesn't
Bevel?
Call the offensive plays.
But I don't know. I have to put a lot of blame on Pete.
Well, he's the head coach.
He's the head coach.
He gets blamed for it. But I'm just saying, I don't put. To me, that's always been on Bevel. And
you don't think
Wilson
Pete had any
Lockett.
sort of say in that final play in the Super Bowl?
I don't think head coaches, unless they're also coordinators, they don't really make those determinations in the game.
I don't know. I've heard otherwise throughout the league. Doesn't what's his name on the Niners call his own plays?
Yeah, but he was an offensive coordinator. Pete has always been a defensive coordinator and a defensive backs coach going back to his days in San Fran.
Well, anyway, my point to bringing that up was like, it was kind of easy for me to be like, get rid of Pete. I've seen enough. No, I want to just get out of this era of like still being mad about that Super Bowl loss. Like, I just want to move on.
Yeah.
And now that Pete has shown us, like, no, hold on, I'm here to stay, and here's why. Like, I'm extremely happy that he was able to prove all of us wrong, because
and he proved us wrong about Geno. He was right about Geno all offseason, and I'm the dumbass that was like, Pete is out of touch. He's
no one
geriatric.
thought Geno was going to be good. No one thought that. But I don't even know if Geno thought that. The things the guy did in the offseason, are you serious? Like,
no, we looked terrible in the preseason, dude. We looked like the worst team in the league. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, I'm one of the most optimistic people when it comes to the Seahawks, and I did not see where we're at right now being the reality at 6 weeks into the season. But dude, just to wrap up this episode, we had 2 rookies this week, both get named for NFC or Rookie of the Week on NFL.com. We just had a rookie, Tariq Woolen, get NFC Defensive Player of the Week. One of our new additions, Uchenna Nwosu. God, his name's hard to say sometimes. He also got that same award earlier this season. We have 2 rookie starting tackles. We have a rookie running back. We have a rookie nickelback. We have Boye Mafe as a rookie, taking snaps over Darrell Taylor. This is the best draft class easily since 2000, 10, 11, 12, those drafts that really brought us to Super Bowl contention, we're potentially, I'm going to just go out and say it, I think we're going to get a top 10 pick or at least top 12 from the Broncos the way they're playing. We're probably going to be somewhere in the middle of the pack, somewhere around like 20 to 16. We have a legitimate chance to be a contender next year if we can pull off even half as good as a draft as we had this year.
I agree.
The Seahawks' future has not been this bright since 2013, genuinely. Or I guess 2014, we'll say. But we haven't been in this good of a position since then. We can take our pick at a quarterback in this draft. There's a chance the Broncos will be bad enough we could get Will Anderson, the best pass rusher, who plays in a 3-4 defense right now in college. It's looking fucking good, man. It could not be much better.
Yeah, and not to mention those 2 picks we're getting from Denver. Those are going to be in the top 45
in the second round, too.
If we keep up where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, I think of, like, Kenneth Walker. He was picked number 41. Boye was number 40. And the types of guys you can get in the top 50, the difference between the 30th pick and the 44th pick is usually your opinion. You know, you're picking from the same class of players at that point, especially once you get out of like the top 15. So yeah, as long as we don't get too cute this next April, like I'm excited to see what the rest of the season has to bring. But to me, it's always been about 2023 and beyond. And damn, I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like 10 years later, we're just repeating the process. 2021, we have kind of a going into the season blind sort of perspective. Hopefully next year, after we get our early draft picks, we'll have a better sense of where we're going to be. And then 2023, we can make a run. But who's to say we can't do it next year?
Yeah. I mean, really, who's to say we can't do it this year? The NFC looks like shit. Our division, we're technically tied at the top of it right now. It's not totally inconceivable. Do I think it's going to happen? Hell no. But it's not impossible.
Yeah. Do I think we're going to have a season like the 2017 Eagles did with Nick Foles playing quarterback? No. But do I think it's possible with Geno Smith playing quarterback for our team? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
football's a weird game, man. Sometimes
there's just those seasons where nothing makes sense and some weird team wins the Super Bowl.
Like the 2012 Ravens.
Yeah.
And on the 2011 Giants. They were bad. They were fucking bad during the regular season. I thought they were going to go one and done. And then Eli Manning decided to have like the best run of his life and then return to being normal Eli afterwards. It just, football's a weird sport.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's all I had for this one.
Yep, that's all I got. Hopefully this weekend we can beat San Diego.
I still always think of them as San Diego too.
Yeah. LA, that's so stupid.
I fucking hate it.
But all right, yep. This has been Jonah and Ryan. We're sounding off, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Yep, catch you on the next one.